Psalm 21, 8-12 shifts from celebration to confrontation, revealing God's judgment upon those who oppose his anointed king. These verses describe the inevitable consequences facing enemies of the Lord and his chosen servants. Verse 8 opens with a declaration of comprehensive victory. Thine hand shall find out all thine enemies. Thy right hand shall find out those that hate thee. The repetition of shall find out emphasizes the certainty of divine justice. God's enemies cannot hide from his reach. The expressions thine hand and thy right hand represent God's power in action. The right hand symbolizes strength and authority throughout Scripture. This verse applies both to David's earthly reign and to Christ's eternal kingdom. No enemy of God's people escapes divine notice. The Lord sees every plot, every scheme, every act of rebellion against his authority. Verse 9 describes the intensity of God's wrath. Thou shalt make them as a fiery oven in the time of thine anger. The Lord shall swallow them up in his wrath, and the fire shall devour them. The imagery of a fiery oven conveys complete destruction through divine judgment. The phrase, in the time of thine anger, reveals that God's patience has limits. Romans 2:5 warns, but after thy hardness and impenitent heart treasurest up unto thyself wrath against the day of wrath and revelation of the righteous judgment of God. The Lord shall swallow them up, suggests sudden and total consumption. This language parallels the destruction of Korah's rebellion in Numbers 16:32. And the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed them up, and their houses, and all the men that appertained unto Korah. The fire that devours represents God's holy judgment against sin. This fire purifies by removing evil and vindicates righteousness. Hebrews 12:29 declares, our God is a consuming fire. Verse 10 addresses the complete elimination of the wicked lineage. Their fruit shalt thou destroy from the earth, and their seed from among the children of men. This verse promises that evil will not perpetuate itself through future generations. Their fruit refers to the offspring and legacy of God's enemies. The Lord ensures that wickedness does not establish permanent dynasties. Proverbs 10:30 states, the righteous shall never be removed, but the wicked shall not inhabit the earth. The phrase, their seed from among the children of men, suggests total removal from human society. This judgment prevents the corruption of future generations through evil influence and sinful examples. Verse 11 explains the reason for such severe judgment. For they intended evil against thee. They imagined a mischievous device which they are not able to perform. The enemies of God plot against his purposes and his people. They intended evil reveals the deliberate nature of their rebellion. These are not accidental opponents, but calculated enemies who choose to fight against the Lord. Their hostility stems from hatred of righteousness rather than from misunderstanding. The phrase, they imagined a mischievous device, shows the creativity of evil in opposing God's work. Psalm 2:1-2 asks, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel against the Lord and against his anointed. The expression, which they are not able to perform, demonstrates the futility of opposing God. Human schemes cannot overthrow divine purposes. Verse 12 describes the defeat of God's enemies. Therefore shalt thou make them turn their back, when thou shalt make ready thine arrows upon thy strings against the face of them. The image of fleeing enemies reveals complete military defeat. Turn their back implies retreat. Those who once advanced against God's people now flee in terror. The Lord's presence transforms bold attackers into cowardly fugitives. The phrase, "Make ready thine arrows upon thy strings," presents God as a divine archer preparing for battle. Arrows represent divine judgment. Deuteronomy 32:23 warns, "I will heap mischiefs upon them. I will spend mine arrows upon them." Against the face of them suggests direct confrontation. God does not attack from ambush, but faces his enemies. This suggests both divine courage and the certainty of victory. Christians should find comfort in God's protection of his people. Believers face opposition from the world, the flesh, and the devil, but God fights for those who trust in him. Romans 8:31 asks, "If God be for us, who can be against us?" Believers should pray for their enemies rather than seeking personal revenge. Romans 12:19 commands, "Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, Vengeance is mine, I will repay, saith the Lord." Christians in positions of authority should remember that they serve as God's representatives. They should trust God to deal with those who oppose righteousness. The church should proclaim both God's mercy and his justice. The same God who offers salvation through Christ will judge those who reject his grace. This balance prevents both presumption and despair.